Welcome to Jotform. My name is George, and today I want to help you how to get started with Jotform. So follow me to my dashboard right now. This is our Jotform dashboard, the first place that we're going to be greeted with once we log in. So let's go ahead and understand our dashboard. So the first thing that I want to show you is how to move around Jotform. On the top left, we have a drop-down menu where it takes us to different sections of Jotform. So we have my forms, my tables, my reports, my approvals, and my apps. Next thing that I want to show you is the list of our forms that we have available. On the center, we have our forms that we have available, and if we hover over them, we have options available. So we can edit this form, we can view the inbox for this form, and more options for this particular form. Now, you can see that I clicked on this form, and we also get more options on the top. We can view the submissions, so that means that every single time that a form is submitted, we have submissions available, and we can view them right here. We can also view reports for this particular form, apps if it's tied to an app, move to if you want to move it to another folder that you've created, and I'll show you that in a bit. The more options, we can archive, mark all as read, enable, or disable, and we can move it to trash if we like. We also have a to Z filter, Z to A, quest creating date, last dated, submission count, unread, and last subscribed, and a search section. Now, on the left, we have an orange button that says create a form. This is where you would get started to create your first form. On the bottom, we can view all the forms, and that's what we're viewing right now in this section. We can also create more folders. For example, I created one called unused forms. And if you don't want to view all the forms in this section, well, we can create folders and store them particular depending on a brand, unused, favorites, or however you want to organize your forms. Next, we have our shared with me forms. Assigned forms, if someone assigned you a form. My drafts, in case it's not published. Favorite forms. So you can see we have a little star on this form. So if I favorite these two and I go into favorites, we can view our favorite forms. It helps us organize. The archived forms and the trash forms. This is a really neat feature. Jotform keeps your forms for 30 days in case you made a mistake and deleted it. So in this case, we have this form, which is 24 days remaining until it's completely deleted. In this case, there's 0 days for this one. So that means it's proximate to getting deleted forever. Okay. The next options that we have is over on our avatar on the top, we can view our settings in case we need to update our username, our time settings, and all of that. And the next section we have is create a form. This is where you would get started. So let's go ahead and click on it. And we have three settings here. We have start from scratch, which is a form from zero. Nothing is added to it, and we have to add every element and connect it and start from zero. The other form that we have is the use template. This is really useful to start from a template. And last is import a form in case you already have one and you want to import it. Let's go ahead and view templates. This is our Jotform templates, a section where we can view templates and decide if we want to use one of these to get started quickly. This is super useful to save time. We have a categories on section on the left, which is types. For example, if we want to view order forms, we can just click on it and we can view order forms. See how they update it on the right. And we have several options available: registration forms, event registration forms, booking forms, request forms, so on and so forth. We can also view by industries, or we can just go ahead and search for a type of template that we want to search for. So let's just say a donation form. So let's just type in donation. Let's go ahead and search. And we're going to preview donation forms that are available. So in this case, I can go ahead and preview one of these forms. So if I like this form, I can go ahead and use this template, or I can just view it. And if it's not what I'm looking for, I can just close it and I can search for another one. Let's go ahead and preview this one. We can view it, see how it works, how the drop-down menu works, and we can say, you know what, this is something that I might like. I just have to tweak it a bit and we're good to go. So I can go ahead and use this form. Understanding our Jotform builder. Let's go ahead and start with a classic form. Let's go ahead and select it. And now we're greeted to our Jotform builder. On the left, we have our form elements, which brings up this menu. We have the basic elements, for example, header, full name, email. And if we want to drag any one of these, we can go ahead and just click on it or drag it. In this case, let's go ahead and click on this one and let's drag the email. So we have two options. If we want to drag it in a specific place of the form, we can go ahead and use the drag button. And if we would just want to add it to the next section, we just click on it and it'll go ahead and add it. We can also move these up and down if we like, so we can drag them. And there's also more elements on basic that we can select. So we saw the basics right here. There's also more here. So for example, short text, long text, paragraph, drop down, single choice, survey elements. So input table, star, rating, scale rating, page elements. We can divide, section collapse, or page break. So if we want to make our form in steps, we can use the page break. Now, each of one of the elements that we add, we have a little gear icon right here if we want to see the properties for this. So let's go ahead and click on it and it'll open the menu on the right. And each one of these sections will have different type of properties available depending on the one that you've added or selected. So in this case, we added the name element. So in this case, the properties for this one is the question text. In this case, it's name. We can update this and it'll automatically update on the form. So I just add a question mark and I'll add it on it. I could go ahead and remove it. The label alignment, left, right, top, set as form default. We can make this required. That means that they can't submit the form unless they fill out this section in particular. The sub labels, so we have first name, last name. We can duplicate the field. We have more options available, like asking also for the middle name, the prefix. It could be a text box or a drop-down menu, and we can select the prefixes here by adding them. For example, Mr., pipe, Mr., Mrs., and we can also add another pipe and add more to this in case you want to add sir or whatever you want to add there. The suffix, and we have all these available. We can turn this on or off. We also have advanced options for the placeholders, the hover text if you want to display something hovering, read only, shrink, or hide field, and field details here. So all those options are available for this particular element. And like I mentioned before, each of the elements that we add will add different type of options to it. The next section that I want to show you is the form designer. This will help us with the design of the form so it doesn't look plain and simple. In this case, what we're viewing is a white form with black boxes. But yes, we can use a color scheme. So for example, if I click on these, different types available, different color schemes there. We can also customize these. So we're getting the option for page color, the page image, form color, the form image, font color, input background, and advanced designer settings. There's also styles available for the form width, label alignment, and more options here like the font size, and also themes. These are really interesting because it helps you have a nice looking form already pre-made from these themes, and you can just customize it to your liking. So for example, let's go ahead and use this theme and see how nice that looks. We can use this. We can go ahead and change the background image if we like from there, or we can view more themes if we like and select them. There's also the layout. In this case, we're using classic form. That's what we're actually viewing. But if you decide to change to card form, we just go ahead and select it here. And if we want to preview our form that we've just built, there's a little toggle button right here that we can select it. And here we go. We're viewing a live preview of this. We can also go ahead and jump to the form link if we like. We can also view it as a phone. So we're actually viewing, this is a phone, a tablet, desktop, and you can get out of preview mode and continue editing like you would normally. Now for our next step, we're going to select form layout, card form. So let's go ahead and select the card form, and I want to show you how this works. This is going to open up our Jotform builder, but you're going to view it differently as you would as a simple form. So for example, we have our elements on the left, and we're going to go ahead and add a couple of elements here. Email, address, phone, And you see how each one of these elements adds a page break. That means that each one of these is going to be a section, a step for it, because it's a card form. So for example, if we want to view the options for these, we go ahead and click on it, view the properties, and we have the properties for this particular element. Now, let's go ahead and preview this form for the card. Okay, this is our card form. Let's go ahead and start. In this case, we can view it says for 4 questions. In this case, I'll just fill it up quickly. Next step. Next, go ahead and next and submit. In this case, we didn't select required, and that's why it let us submit it. But this is a preview of the card form. And yes, we can customize the look to our card form by going into Form Designer. We can view the colors, and we have different type of schemes right here. We can choose those there. We can select an image if we like. So for example, that updated to an image. We can use a video. Make sure to use optimized videos for this. Okay, see how it's updating? We can view the video on the background and the layout. In case you don't want to use card form and you want to go back to the classic form, we can do so by clicking here. And if we want to preview our form, we can go ahead and click preview as we just did right now. Now let's get started to build a basic form on Jotform. So let's go ahead and start from scratch. We're going to select classic form for this demo. And let's go into our form elements on the left. And for a basic form, we're going to ask for the name, the phone number, and let's add some short text for a question, long text, and let's add a drop down. And at the end, we're going to ask for the email. Okay, we have some basic elements here, which is the name, phone number, type in question. So in this case, we're going to say, what is your age? That could be a question that we're going to ask. If we want to view the properties for this, we go ahead and click on properties, and we have available options for this. We can select width, validation, character limit, input mask. So for example, we can select a maximum of 3 characters for this in case someone has 100 years, but you can select the minimum and maximum for this. We also have advanced options for this. And for each one of these elements, we have sections that we can edit the properties. Okay, the type in question, for example, this is a drop-down menu. In this case, we could say, what is your favorite color? And we're going to click on the drop-down menu and we can add the options here. So we can say blue, red, green, black, so on and so forth. And we can also go into properties and we can view the properties for this particular element. And we can also go into options, and the options that we've added over here in the drop-down visual editor, we can also add them right here if we like. So we can see the ones that we've added already, which is blue, red, green, and black. We can add them there. So once you're good to go, and this is the form that you like for a basic form, well, we can go into settings, select the form title. So if you want to change the title for this, this could be a test form for this. The form status, by default, it's enabled, but we can also set this by disabled, disabled on a date, disabled on submission limit, disabled on date and submission limit. Each one of these can serve a different purpose depending on your need. We also have the settings for email, conditions, thank you page, integrations, approval flows, and mobile notifications. And if we're ready to publish, we go ahead and go into publish, share the link, and someone will be able to fill out the form just like that. Understanding our basic settings once we finished our form, let's go ahead and go into the settings section, and we have the menu on the left. We have form settings, which is the general settings. We can choose the title that we want to use for this form so we can later locate it easily. So in this case, I've called it a test form and we're going to keep it that way. But if we want to update it, we just change the name here. We also have the form status. In this case, it's enabled by default, but we can also set it to disabled. Disabled on a date, depending if you want to use this, for example, if it's a concert and you want people to sign up using the form, and once the concert is finished, well, they can't sign up anymore. So we can disable this on a particular date. Disable on submission limit. So let's just say that you only want 100 people to submit. Well, it's going to be disabled after X amount of times. Disabled on date and submission limit. So that's both cases at the same time. In this case, we'll keep it enabled. We can view more options. We can set the form warning. We can edit this, the form language, in case you want to translate to different languages. We have a special video for that. We can view those in our help center. Translations, if we want to add them. Password protection, if we want to enable password protection for this particular form, we just enable it and add our own password here. So we can say password is password. You can add your own there. Encrypt form data, no or yes. By default, it's no, but you can enable it. Continue forms later. This by default disabled. We can keep it enabled if we like. Required SSO, unique submissions, unique questions, form accessibility, page title, send post data, clear hidden field values, and several more options available. Now, let's go into the emails section here. In the email section, we have predefined notification and autoresponder settings. We can edit these, we can clone them, and we can delete them. If we want to edit this one, for example, notification, it's going to notify the email that we have set there. So for example, we have the email subject for this. In this case, it says re, and it's form title. It's going to grab it from the actual form title. The name from the name that someone submits a form, and we can add more variables here from the fields that we have available. These fields that are available will depend on the elements that you have added on your form. We also have the email content. So for example, if you want to use your own logo, we replace this one. We can also replace these variables and add our own, remove, keep, or add more information to this if we like. We also have the recipients. In this case, the sender name is Jotform, or we can choose another one. For this one, I can set a name to it. Reply to email, it's going to be one of these. The recipient email, so in this case, it's already set by default, but I can add more. We have up to 10 emails that we can add for recipient email. We can send a test email if we like to test our email just to make sure that everything is fine. And we have the advanced settings for this one. Send email on, and we have these options available. Send upload as attachment in case you have a PDF attached or an upload or something that you might have that it's an attachment. We can enable this. PDF attachment, hide empty fields, update email, and sender email. And if we like it, we can go ahead and save it. Let's go back. We're going to discard changes, and we will also have the autoresponder. And if we want to add another email, we can select that. And again, we have the notification email or the autoresponder email. And we can go ahead and go through the settings for each one of these. Next thing we have is conditions. This is based on conditional logic. So if this happens, do that. Okay. So in that sense, we have all these options available, which makes your form really flexible and professional. So we can go ahead and show and hide fields depending on a condition that's met. So for example, if someone says, well, we set a condition to say that if someone is underage, well, we can hide certain fields. And if they're overage, we can show different fields. Or if we have a store that we want to sell something, if someone selects male, well, we show them men's clothing. If we want to choose woman, then we show woman's clothing, and so on and so forth. We use conditional logic. Update calculated fields, so that means it's doing a calculation. So if we set to add 1 plus 1 from another element, and then we have a result, plus 2, well, plus 1 and 1, that equals 2. Enable required fields. So for example, if you have something that's not required, well, you can enable required, and the other way around. We have skip to hide page, change thank you page in case you don't like the one that's available, and change the email recipient depending on a condition that's met. Next we have is the thank you page. We can edit our thank you page here if we want to edit this. We have the live editor, and we also have a couple of layouts here on the right if you want to select one of these. There's the button settings, the fields, and we also have the option to redirect to an external link after submission. What does that mean? That's not going to show a thank you page. When someone submits, we send them to a link that we set right here. That could be a sales page, your home page, or to every page you want to send over. The integration section, we have several integrations available. We can select these and go through the settings of each one of these. So for example, you can view all of these, several settings available. The approval flows, if you want to use your form for approvals, we can create a flow by going through the settings here. Again, we have a special tutorial for this on the description and our help files. Mobile notifications, if you want to enable this or disable them. You have to download the Jotform app for the App Store or Google Play Store. Understanding the concept of conditional logic, let's go into our settings, conditions, and we have these conditions available. Now, what does that mean? Well, when a condition is met, it's going to do something. So when this happens, do that. That's the concept of this conditional logic. So for example, we have the first one, which is show and hide field. So depending on a condition that we set, we're going to show a field. So for example, if we set the condition to an age range, so if someone is over 21, we want to show different type of fields. Well, we can set it here to, if someone is over 18, well, 21, we can show different type of fields. And the other way around, we can hide fields that won't interest that particular person. Next thing we have is the update calculated fields. So the calculated field means that if you add, subtract, or you add different type of formulas, that will work in the conditional logic. So for example, if we have two elements that are summed, so for example, if you add 1 and 1 on the other element, we can have a sum of those two, and the sum would be equal to 2. And that's calculated field. Enabled required field. This is really interesting because if we have fields that are not required, we can switch them to required depending on the condition that's met. So for example, if they answer a particular question, a drop-down section, or answer something in specifically, then we can change another element to make it required. Or the other way around, we can remove the required in case that is not necessary. The other one we have is skip to or hide a page. This is really interesting because if we have a condition that's met, we can skip them to another section where they don't have to answer a particular question because it's not necessary. Maybe they already answered it, or you don't need that question because it's a different one. So for example, if we are making a medical form for a gynecologist, well, let's just say that if certain conditions are met, well, we can ask different type of questions or skip them to a different section because we don't need to have them answer those particular questions. And that lets us skip to. The next one is change the thank you page. If you don't like the particular thank you page, we can change this by using conditional logic. So if you have a rating form where someone is providing feedback, if they don't provide good feedback, well, you might want to change the thank you page to say, hey, how can we help you? How can we make this problem better? And if everything is fine, if they rate 5 stars or really positive feedback, well, we send them to a thank you page. So depending on conditions, we can send them to different type of thank you pages. Next one is change email recipient. This is really interesting because if we have a form for a business, for example, so if someone wants to reach a particular person in that company, for example, sales, accounting, support. So what does that mean? That when someone selects support, we can change the email recipient to send to support@yourcompany.com. And if someone selects sales, well, it's going to go to sales@company.com. And we can change those depending on the condition that's met. And that is the overall concept of conditional logic. Now that you finished your form, let's get ready to publish. So let's head on over to publish section. And this is our publish settings. So first off, you're going to be greeted with the link to share. This link is made available to share with anyone you want to have them fill out the form. You can copy this link, open a new tab in case you want to test it out. We have the settings for this one. For example, by default, it's a public form. We can set it to private form or company access. We can set the permissions and options for this form. The invite by email, if you want to send this over to someone by a particular email, we go ahead and select it there. We have the share options and create the app. This is really interesting and you will see more on our knowledge base for this particular one. If you want to embed our form, we'll go into our settings for embed. And we have the embed code right here that we can embed this on our website if we like. We have the source code, iframe, WordPress, feedback button, pop-up, and lightbox. Each one of these will display how we have to embed this. We can also preview it if we like, customize or copy code. We can also assign a form to someone else by sharing the link. The email, so for example, if we want to share on email, schedule a reminder email, and we can set our settings for this. The pre-fill, pre-populate your forms. We have the pre-fills right here, manual pre-fill, form fill, tables pre-fill, SSO pre-fill, Salesforce pre-fill, and HubSpot pre-fill. Each one of these will take us to our settings for each particular one. Download fillable PDF, if you want to download that, and our platforms that we integrate with. These are third-party platforms. We can go ahead and search through these. So for example, if I wanted to do Shopify, I'll just search for Shopify, and we have all these available to integrate with. And if the option is not here, well, we have the embeddable option if your CMS allows it. And that is the publish settings. Now let's view our form submissions. Once we have our form ready and it's been filled out, we're going to be able to view our form submissions. So for example, in this case, we have a number 2. That means there's 2 submissions on this form. These are our test forms, but I'll go ahead and click on it just for showing you. So once I select it, we have 2 ways of viewing our submissions. We have a top button that just popped up once we selected our form. We can go ahead and go through here, or we can go ahead and click on more and go to submissions. So let's go ahead and go to submissions for this particular form. This will open up our Jotform tables, and this is where we're going to view our form submissions. Now, depending on the elements that we have, we're going to view them right here. And if we want to add more, we can go ahead and add them here. We can go ahead and favorite these, view the options for each particular submission. So I can view the entry for this. And if I go ahead and click on it, we view the entry of what was filled out on the particular submission. We can go ahead and select the column, update the column if we like. We can go ahead and add more tabs to this. So for example, this is the basic overall submission type of Excel, Google Sheets. But if we want to add another type of view, we go ahead and add tab, and we have these available options. So for example, there's tables, which is what we're viewing right now, but we can create another table if we want to organize it in a different way. We have the calendar view, cards, uploads, and reports. This lets us have different type of views depending on our use case and needs. We also have the top name for it, the changes for this. We can go ahead and share this. So for example, share an invite. We can also embed our submissions on a website if you like that. And this is how we would view our form submissions on Jotform. Well, that's it for our basic getting started Jotform tutorial. We thank you all for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. We'll see you later.